Surviving Reality contains explicit content full of snark and sarcasm that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Reality.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly, and we are here with the very first inaugural episode of Polyfamily.
The maiden voyage of Polyfamily.
So for those of you who may not be in the loop yet, this is a new show that has just started on TLC on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern. And it is following a closed quad, which we will explain a little further as we get into it. And I gotta tell you, I did not expect to have such strong opinions, and I already do.
Oh, well, it doesn't take much to get us going here, I think, especially when it comes to polyfams. Can we just call it polyfam? Are we on that?
Yeah, we can
level?
Call it polyfam.
It's polyfam.
That's more fun.
Polyfamily,
Polyfam.
It doesn't feel...
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it doesn't feel natural.
Don't say that. You're going to upset some people.
No, I mean the words. The words don't feel natural when I'm saying them.
This is Season 1, Episode 1, In Quad We Trust. Two polyamorous couples are redefining what it means to be a family as they raise their 4 children together under one roof. With a new baby on the way and the dads butting heads about parenting, the quad struggles to get on the same page.
In quads we trust, not the same ones that Robin trusts on Coyote Pass.
I don't think she trusts 4-wheelers anymore.
No trust.
Getting bucked off the back of that thing. Just like she did polygamy, got kicked out.
Yep. Booted.
This is, right off the bat, a bit different from Sister Wives. There doesn't appear to be any religious element to what they're doing, which sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, depending on the family that we're following. That's what we've learned from Seeking Sister Wife, at least.
There's a lot of things you can learn on Seeking Sister Wife.
One of which is that plague lashes are a thing, because what is happening? Where are they buying these things? Because both of the women in this show are plagued by the same issue as Danielle Davis.
It's a plague is what it is. That's what's happening. The caterpillars on their eyes leave us to question, is everything okay? You can't blink twice to send a secret message if you have those lashes.
That's where I start to worry. Like, is that indicating to us that maybe we're not in the right frame of mind to be making decisions?
You need a mental health check, is what you're saying? Yeah, you need a wellness check if you're seeing these lashes in the wild.
Robin has recently been sporting them.
Well, I think they crawled up to her eyebrows, though, for the most part.
I was thinking about Ari starting her makeup journey in the last episode, and I'm glad that she is breaking generational curses by getting ahead of it, getting on those makeup tutorials early before the eyebrows can get to her.
I hope she is. Yeah, I hope it's not homegrown. We're repeating generational curses of what's going on here. I really hope not.
Who do we meet first? We meet Tyler and Alysia.
Right. They're both in their mid-30s. Everybody's kind of sold to us as being in their mid-30s, but not everybody's in their mid-30s. These two are.
And they've been married for 11 years, so quite a while. They have 2 children together. What did they look like? I don't know, 8, 9? I'm not good with kids' ages.
We know.
They're probably 6 and 7.
How old are you now? 21, 22?
Once they get up there, like once you hit 8, I have no idea how old you are anymore. You could be anywhere between the ages of 7 and 12. I don't know.
It's a ballpark at that point, and we're just trying to get close. I don't really know where we're going here.
First impressions.
Specifically of Tyler and Alysia?
Yeah.
I think Tyler's the one who's giving youth pastor vibes.
Oh.
In the family.
It's unfortunate for him.
Because there usually ends up being one, right? One like youth pastor energy sort of thing. But he's like a cool one who does like skateboarding. You know, he's like
righteous gemstone.
He's taking it to another level. He used to be in a touring rock band, Christian rock, of course. They didn't go platinum, but they went double myrrh.
The other part of the quad is Sean and Taya. Taya is 9 months pregnant. I'm pretty sure, right? 38 weeks. Someone inform me.
They're inducing her soon, so probably close enough.
I was shocked by the age gap between these two.
This was a big one, yeah, because this caught us by surprise. There's an 18-year gap.
it doesn't really look like it.
It doesn't look like it. That's what's throwing me off here, is because she doesn't look like she's in her mid-20s. She looks like she's in her mid-30s.
Their whole story worried me a little bit.
He doesn't look like he's in his mid-40s. He also looks like he's in his mid-30s.
You think so? I think he looks a little older.
I mean, he looks very generic. He looks, just standard issue.
Just your standard issue man.
He seemed more like 90 Day Fiancé kind of standard issue person.
Well, I feel like that is the other route he would have pivoted to had he not met Taya at work.
Dangerously close. Yeah.
So she was 22 when they got married.
When they got married. And
they
he was
met
40.
at work.
He was 40 when they got married. It's a big jump.
It is. And age gaps, don't want to sound like we're ageist, because there are people who have relationships that go well when they have that large of a gap between them. I'm worried about the age gap plus this dynamic. This is my fear, that one day Taya will wake up and decide she doesn't want to do this anymore because she's only 28.
Well, she's in it now. I mean, we got a couple of kids involved because Alysia and Tyler had 2 kids when they built this polyfamily with this closed quad party of 4. And they've subsequently had 2 other children since then, too. And another on the way with Taya.
So there are 5 children involved.
I think when they were just discussing the rules, it seemed like they're a very rules-oriented, structured kind of engagement here that's happening between the relationships that are here. Because then they're still referring to, this is my wife or my husband, and then I have a boyfriend or girlfriend as part of that. So there is still kind of like a ranking that's there, or like a natural relationship that was initial, and then we've added this other dynamic. I would give them credit that it seems like they're trying to be more fair.
At least for now.
At least for now. I mean, like, so comparing to the polygamists that we know and love, the Brown family.
Right, but the Browns started out very fair too.
It seemed
with
like
their
they
rotation.
were.
Or at
Yeah.
least that's, I don't know, they are big fans of revisionist history. So who knows?
They alleged that, yes, that was fair. They had a rotation. They had a set schedule until Robin joined the family.
Until someone became the favorite.
Well,
And then it disrupted the balance.
Before she was even officially married, she started getting a night in the rotation, which that was a whole other thing. Anyways, but what we're getting at here is it seems like they're pretty consistent with having a schedule and sticking to it, and then also taking other people's feelings into consideration. So if somebody is upset by something, then they try to all address it together and figure out how do we avoid that situation moving forward.
They did also mention there's kind of a power of the veto involved, where if one of the original elements of a couple,
yeah, components,
if one of the husbands or wives feels like, I don't really want to do this anymore, I'm not comfortable with you having a girlfriend or a boyfriend, whatever, then we're not going to be doing this anymore. Now, would that actually play out? I guess we'd have to see.
At this
But that's
point,
the agreement.
I think that they were talking about that too, where it was like, that was the initial agreement. Now it seems like we're kind of too far along, where if somebody isn't really a fan of this anymore, too late.
Right. There are kids involved.
It seems like there's an implication now that you cannot change your mind. This is what it is, and we have to make the best of it. We're going to work through it.
Let's rewind and explain the closed quad, because I don't think we really fully explain who has a relationship with whom. But Tyler and Alysia are married, and Tyler's girlfriend is Taya, and Alicia's boyfriend is Sean.
In other words, they don't go weird, as Mary would say.
Never do the men cross paths in the bedroom. They made that very clear to us.
No sword fighting. Put that away.
I did not enjoy the part of the episode where they also then asked, well, what about the women? Do the women ever have relationships together? Relations, should I say? And I don't think that they were comfortable addressing that. But Sean sure was.
Oh, Sean was very quick to answer for Taya and remind her, yeah, you've had multiple instances where that has occurred.
Yeah, don't you remember? You're pansexual.
So he outs her immediately, because you could tell by the look on her face, she wasn't ready to talk about that today.
No. This already, Sean's not starting off on a good foot with me, because you don't share the details of someone's sexuality if they're not willing to volunteer that information themselves.
Do you think that was something that Sean struggled with when he first found out about it? Because it seems like Sean struggles with this setup just in general, because I think he deals with the jealousy a lot. Alysia was talking about how she deals with the jealousy a lot. Seems like Tyler and
Taya just want to fuck.
They're
constantly.
It seemed like, actually it's pronounced Tata, but but no, it seems like these are four people who were in two couples, and it was like a high libido partner and a low libido partner. And then they both just realized, oh, well, we can kind of just mix and match, and then that'll cover all the bases. You guys will kind of just wear each other out a little bit between Tyler and
Bring yourself
Taya.
Down to a level that we can handle.
Make it more manageable, because it's too much work right now. I can't do this.
It does come across from the first episode like this is very much like a sexually driven thing.
Arrangement? Yeah.
Arrangement, yeah.
Because, it started off as like they each had different avenues of like how they got here too, because I think it was like Alysia and Tyler were kind of swinging for a little while, so it seemed like they were kind of just in an open marriage. And then for Taya and Sean, was that kind of this? They just started on apps, so I don't know if it was like as open or if they were looking for more of a relationship.
We didn't get the Seeking Sister Wife backstory that we usually, get caught up on through multiple seasons.
At least everyone is able to mark themselves safe from Garrick Merrifield. They did not encounter him on any apps, as far as we know.
For now,
yeah. This is the same production team that does Sister Wives, though. So the way that this is presented...
Not Puddle Monkey.
No, not Puddle Monkey.
It's Figure 8 Films and Trailblazer Studios.
Yeah, and so it seems like does this feel like Sister Wives? This felt more like Seeking Sister Wife, I think.
Well, this first episode was definitely a pilot because it was shot a little weird.
What do you mean?
There were a couple shots that just were like a little unprofessional. That's how I felt. That's some criticism for Figure 8 Films.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shot unprofessionally? Like they...
Like, how small was the bedroom that they were standing in? Like, the camera guy was just, like, shaking the camera the whole time. They were going in and out of focus. The lighting was a little off in some shots.
I didn't realize you had so many notes for the production.
A lot of opinions about production.
They got a lot of work to do.
Like, fly someone down to Flagstaff. They got to sit in the proper interview chair.
Well, they do have an interview couch.
They have a couch.
And they did squeeze all four of them on there at some points. And then, but I think that was the other thing that was confusing, was then they would cut to confessionals, and I couldn't tell, is this person alone telling me this thing? Are they with, which couple person are they with?
Right, I need you to isolate everyone because we need to get the truth. They're not going to tell the truth when they're on the couch together. That is what we have learned from Sister Wives.
Either that or start sitting Tyler and Sean down together because they don't want to be sitting on the couch next to each other. So that could be entertaining too, just in and of itself.
Let's talk about the element of the kids, because this was the part that I got very angry about. So 2 of the kids are Alysia and Tyler's from the marriage prior to ever meeting Sean and Taya. And now there's going to be a total of 3 kids who came into this situation through being born while the relationship existed. They do not know the biological father of any of those 3 kids.
And they're choosing to not know until the kids decide to ask who their dad actually is and if they want to find that out.
I feel like that is so psychologically damaging, not just for the kids, like the kids who it actually impacts, the siblings, and the parents that are involved.
That's what I was nervous about too, because this is kind of part of that parenting conversation that was happening too, where there are times where they're all trying to parent the children, and then it can be thrown around, they're my kids, the possessive my versus our kids, because there are 2 kids that were born prior to this family system in existence. So the verbiage that gets used by the parents is very triggering for Sean specifically, is what we see, where he gets upset by that. He's offended by that. I think it's going to be rough when those two kids get into their teenage years, if they realize that that is upsetting to Sean, I think they can push those buttons to remind him very frequently that he is not their father, type of a thing.
I mean, possibly. I just don't. There's the whole medical element of it, right? Where you should really know who the father of the kids is in case there are things that you need to know from a medical standpoint, which I guess they're thinking, okay, that might not impact them until they're older. But what if this doesn't work out? What if the quad breaks up? And then we're going to have to go find out the biology of these children.
As part of
potentially
a custody battle, potentially of where these kids would end up.
Yeah, unless they just agree like, well, these kids go with you, these kids go with us.
All right, let's hear it in the chat. Red for yes, blue for no. That's what we're ending up with here.
That's how Ryan Anderson would deal with it.
That's basically it.
Gypsy or Pixie? Or what is it?
Gypsy or Pixie?
Pixie or Aurora?
The custody battle was short fought in that relationship.
I just don't know, being raised with all of four of these people being your parents and really like not knowing who your biological dad is. And then one day finding out that like potentially you've bonded more with the other parent. And then you find out that's not your biological parent.
To be fair, seeing some of those kids' baby pictures, I think we know who the dads are for either one, either or.
The one little boy definitely looks, in my opinion, a lot more like Tyler.
And then there's another one where the baby photos looked a lot like Sean when that kid was fresh squeezed.
So, like, maybe they're making assumptions, but they feel like they don't really need to have a test to know.
Well, I don't mean to get all Maury about it, just basing it off of looks either, because obviously...
that has been proven to not be foolproof.
Especially when, I would need to see baby photos of the wives too, just to make that assessment to see maybe there's been some influence on either side whose DNA is not putting up a fight.
That is another contrast to the Brown family, though, because the kids in the Brown family knew who both of their parents were.
Well, and that was kind of a defining thing, was that it was Cody who was the dad, and he was the connecting piece between all of these families, was because he's the father of all the children, allegedly. And I mean that from like a parental, like we know that Logan's
We're not questioning whether the wives were only having relationships with
Right,
Cody.
No, we're just saying that like Logan is the dad of the family, even for Cody too, unfortunately. And then, yes, allegedly he was taking that spot, that title, Stolen Valor.
This is also causing other issues because they've decided that they're going to parent all together.
But then that leaves some of the parents feeling like they're parenting parents. And that is where the guys are kind of butting heads on some of this stuff.
Again, I want to know how this could impact the older children who made it until, how old did they say they were when they came into the family? Like 4, 6, something like that?
I think they were around 5. Yeah.
Okay. That's still pretty little. But one day you move into this house and now you have 2 other adults who are parenting you. And sometimes they're disciplining you when your parent is not. Is that confusing? Could it cause resentment?
Alysia was talking about how she's kind of thankful because
she can shirk off the responsibility of being the disciplinarian.
She's not as strict of a parent as Sean is. But Sean's parenting, okay, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm not a parent. Just so the disclaimer's out there.
Just a judgy bitch.
Breaking news, I'm not a parent. But neither is Super Nanny, and she does a pretty good job. So I'm just going to say, if you want to throw out that assessment there, you don't need to have a kid to have an opinion on it. I'm sorry. Hate to break it to you.
Well, also many adults who don't have children have been psychologically damaged by their own parents and have learned lessons from that. So
I'm parenting my own inner child, so that makes me a parent. I'm re-parenting myself. Okay? So full disclosure, that's where we're at.
What do you think about Sean?
I don't know what his views are in terms of grounding, because grounding is sounding a lot like solitary confinement to me, based on his ruling and his standing.
Yeah, I really wasn't a fan of this. So at one point in the episode, I don't remember the daughter's name, whatever, she is sitting down eating a bowl of cereal or something.
She's a minor, so I don't want to involve her too much in this either. So yeah, the daughter is involved.
And Tyler comes home from work, sits down, starts to talk to her and ask her about her day. And then Sean interrupts them and is like, you need to go up to your room because You're punished? You're
or
what?
You're grounded.
I don't even.
But I think it was down to your room. I think it's a basement kid.
But you have to go sit alone and not converse with one of your parents.
Are you not allowed to? Yeah, like even if you're grounded, like shouldn't you still be able to have a conversation with your parents? Why are we
See,
completely...
I don't like that because it feels like you are now being alienated because you are on punishment.
You're withholding affection or connection with your child. That is very destabilizing. That's not good.
He really didn't have a good explanation for it because then he kind of throws Tyler under the bus when they talk about it because Tyler tells him, look, I didn't like that. All I wanted to do was come home and have a conversation with her about,
how
what
was your day
going
at
on.
school?
I'm not here all day because I'm gone at work. And you came in and disrupted that.
It was quality eat a bag of chips time. That was what we were all doing. We were sitting at the table with our assigned snacks, and that was what we were there to do. She came up to the mess hall, and that was all that she had time assigned for. So back to the hole.
Well, I guess Tyler is also on the verge of being grounded because it sounds like in the past, maybe Tyler hasn't been the most strict with sticking to grounding because that's what Sean explains. Well, you guys get to talking and then all of a sudden she's doing things that she shouldn't be doing when she's grounded. So that's why I stopped it. I intervened.
And this is how petty I would be. I would be down in her room. Every time she was grounded, I would be hanging out with her the whole time just to spite Sean.
I also don't like that he is kind of like putting himself in the middle as a wedge between Tyler and his daughter. And I know we're not doing the I'm the mom, I'm the dad thing, but I am. Because
they don't have to. We will.
I just worry, like, don't you want the kids to still feel like they have a connection with you, biological parents? You brought them into this family that wasn't like their family of origin. I would want my kid to feel comfortable that they could come to me at any time and talk to me about how they're feeling.
Can't there be some resentment that would spawn from that?
Yes.
Probably. You would think so. That this kid would...
that Sean's trying to interfere with my relationship with my dad.
Even the kid would feel like, hey, there's like a wedge between me and my dad. Yeah, like that would be something that could very easily happen.
I didn't like the whole appearance of it. It made me worried. Also, I did not like parenting another parent in front of a child.
That was weird too. About the time management stuff, specifically, maybe that just triggered me.
I don't remember that. What did he say to him?
I think it was that they lose track of time when they start talking or something. She's supposed to be grounded.
Which again is what? You have to, what is she? She get 3 hots in a cot? She has to go down to the basement and hide in there the rest of the day?
I think so. That's where
she get 1 hour out in the sunlight?
How come we don't get outdoors time, Michael? I think the best part of this too is when each of the husbands then go to their wives and then complain about what the other husband was doing. Because then they're both feeling like they're right and the other person is wrong. And then their wives are just kind of agreeing with whoever's in front of them because I don't really want to get involved in it. It sounds like Taya's been wrapped up in this stuff before.
It is funny because it is like being a sister wife.
So now you have to pick sides. You have to pick your alliances and hope you're getting to the finals with somebody who's not a traitor. It's hard to do.
Let's chat a little bit about the relationships. Tyler and Taya. It's purely carnal, right?
I mean, these are the high libido of the group.
All they do is talk about fucking each other. And then all of the drama that surrounds the relationship, so the rules that had to be formed, are based on jealousies and issues that arose from the two of them. Like the fact that, so they have different days. They switch every other day. The guys switch bedrooms. They bring their pillow. They were very clear on that. I guess sharing a pillow is crossing the line.
Oh, I thought that was just a nod to the My Pillow guy.
I hope not. So when it's your day, they also have rules about sitting on the couch. You have to sit next to the person whose day it is with you.
Or the car, too. I think
the
it was
car,
the car
too.
Placement.
You call in shotgun. You get in the front seat.
You're prioritizing who you're with for that day because it is your day together.
Which maybe would have been a rule for the Browns to implement because what it devolved to was the whole day was Robin's day until it was dinner time. And then Cody spent time with you until, I don't know, the break of dawn, and then went back to Robin's house.
He didn't even go to sleep. Yeah, he would leave at 4:00 in the morning under cover of darkness. I think it is interesting that it seems like more of the insecure partners can be seen as Alysia and Sean. And then
Because these other two, they're running off and escaping and fucking in random rooms on days that aren't their days together.
Well, that was when
Because they couldn't wait 24 hours.
That was when the rules had to be established, yes, because that was upsetting to Sean. I think that was tough to get through that one. But then if I'm Tyler, I feel like I would be petty, and I don't like the parenting. I don't like what's going on. So then it's like, hey, yeah, I'm going to get with her on your day. Like, revenge fucking.
I think it's going to become pretty clear that there's a reason why this isn't an element of our lives, because Alysia is also having problems with this. They don't want to call it jealousy, so they're calling it competitiveness.
Oh, competition.
That she's very curious about everything that is happening between Tyler and Taya. And it's not because she's insecure. It's because she wants to be able to compete with her.
To keep up. But then I think the more information that she finds out about their relationship, she's like, I can't do all that.
Then she gets upset.
And so then that's when the new rule has to be established. Okay, no more talking about your relationship with Taya with me. I don't want to know. Please don't tell me anything else.
I want to know every detail. I need you to draw me. You need to draw me a map of everything that happened the night before. I'm really starting to suspect that the foundation of this quad is Tyler and Taya's attraction to one another, and that Alysia and Sean have just bonded over being the left out two. They don't really seem to like each other. They keep telling us how alike they are, but then we just watch them bicker.
Yeah, bickering is not a love language, and I will stand behind that because there's a lot of people who try and tout that as a great sign of their relationship. I feel like that's just a lot of veiled insults and saying things that you really want to say, but not saying it in a constructive way that you can actually work towards a resolution on anything.
I will say, though, the grocery store shopping thing that we watched, it didn't get nasty, really.
I didn't like it.
Well, it wasn't ideal.
Yeah,
but they weren't being kind to each other the whole time. But
no.
They weren't they weren't telling each other that they were like, I don't know, they weren't calling each other names or anything.
Yeah, there's not putting down, but there is a way of condescending tone that was just back and forth to each other.
I'll give you that.
That was putting down in its own way. Because if you're talking to someone like that, I think that they connect on the basis that
they kind of hate Tyler and Taya a little bit for this. Because did you notice that Alysia was talking shit about Tyler to Sean while they were grocery shopping?
Oh, yeah, because then, that's who you can talk shit with about Tyler for sure. You know that Sean doesn't like Tyler. They've said it multiple times that they wouldn't be friends unless they were in this situation. They're not friends in this situation. They wouldn't be friends. They wouldn't have any reason to hang out if they weren't in this closed quad scenario, which makes me feel like this might be one of those couples therapy episodes where it's people trying to open up the relationship because they don't want to break up with the person. So maybe let's open up the relationship. And then,
but also, I'm not really cool with you like having a rotating cast of characters. So I'm okay with this closed quad arrangement.
Yeah, and because Alysia and Sean both don't want to be left by Tyler and Taya.
We're coming up with a whole narrative.
I'm just saying, that's my assessment.
This is my read.
That's the assessment.
My read is they're trying to present this to us as though this is very well functioning. They like it, all four of them.
Beneficial, and it has its drawbacks, but we overcome it.
I don't see that.
I
already see red flags.
I don't think so. I don't think we're being totally honest with what's going on. Because then that's the other thing, too, of like lining up all of these rules and establishing a rule for every single scenario where somebody feels upset. At some point, Tyler and Tater are going to go for it. They're just going to say, to hell with these rules.
There wasn't a rule for that, so...
Yeah, there wasn't.
I guess we need a rule.
Well, and then if you just keep making arbitrary rules for every single scenario, then your entire life becomes stay in the box, follow the rules. And that doesn't strike me as the type of people that they are.
Okay, that's what I didn't like about the rule about sitting on the couch next to the person whose day it is. I feel like that's so exhausting.
I didn't
you
know that
have
was
to
a rule.
constantly monitor. Yes.
That's a rule?
That's a rule. So if it's Tyler and Taya's day, they're sitting next to each other on the couch, and Sean and Alysia are sitting next to each other. You can't like swap partners.
Well, they said that you could still show affection
You
with
can
the
show
other
affection,
person.
but there's, I guess that's something that got to them. That and whoever gets to sit in the front seat, which just feels very childlike, arguing who's going to sit in the front versus who's going to sit in the back.
Well, maybe that was Taya's rule then. She is the youngest.
It just seems like a very exhausting way to live your life, to have to constantly be monitoring yourself.
And then at that point, you're just checking a list of what are these rules and I need to follow them. And that's going to break you at some point.
Yes, but also when there aren't rules, we've seen how that works. And usually that is the end of one of these arrangements.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like it's more about the connection that we see from Alysia and Sean is that they're hearing their internal monologue from an external source. And so they're comfortable with that. It's something familiar. That's the basis of their connection. But I don't think it's like a romantic sort of
Not from
dynamic.
What we've seen so
Not
far.
from what we've seen so far. Doesn't seem like that. It seems like they communicate in very similar ways. And then Tyler and Taya, yeah, it's purely physical. Mostly physical. But they could have something that is actually in there as a spark of like a loving relationship that's in there. And then that might be scary to those other people involved too.
What I was just going to say, is that where problems will arise, when there is a deeper relationship between the two of them? Because
and that's why you can't leave that alone. You can't ignore that. And then we can't not be a part of it now, because then that gets really scary.
I'll say something complimentary. I think that they do try very hard to be respectful of one another, it seems, and that fairness so far is at the forefront of all of their minds. And that's kind of what we saw when we learned that Taya has to get induced early. So the last time that she had a baby, sounded like it was COVID, or the hospital had a rule as to how many people could even be in the hospital. And so just Tyler and Sean went. And because they did that last time, Alicia's going to be in the room this time around. So they are taking everyone's feelings into account.
And it does seem like, for the most part, when they're making decisions, they are making decisions as a consensus, as a group. It is kind of moving in that unified direction. Where it'll get interesting is to see where they don't. I do like the other thing that I can be complimentary about for the show is that they're not trying to gloss over all of these difficulties, because that's the first 2 seasons of Sister Wives. It was how perfect everything is and how great we function as a family. There are no issues.
Mm-hmm. Just watch us have fun together.
Yes, they stuck their heads in the sand and ignored a lot of the glaring issues. So I do like that from the first episode, we're immediately jumping in on, hey, we don't always align on how to parent these kids, or just those conversations that need to take place and the struggles that kind of stem from that. So I do like that they're taking an honest approach, more transparent, I guess, as far as the actual relationship dynamics between all of these people involved.
I am really looking forward to seeing if it changes the dynamic at all when there's a newborn in the house.
The newborn, yeah. I mean, well, they've done it twice, so maybe it gets tougher. It sounded like Sean was terrified of this new baby arriving. He is scared.
Really?
But he seems like he's the very structured, more regimented.
I think he's worried about the baby disturbing his routine.
Yeah, disrupting routine. I think that's going to be the bigger thing. But then he's going to be dysregulated from that, and so he's going to be more reactive to other things that are happening. I'm
really intrigued by watching 4 adults attempt to bond with a baby and seeing how they do that, how they divide work up of taking care of all of the kids plus the baby, what kind of jealousies could possibly arise out of that. If the men look at that baby sideways, trying to figure out, is this baby mine? It does seem like they have some grandparent support too. There are some parents of the closed quad who are involved to support and watch the kids and help out and stuff like that too.
because we did meet, I think it was
Taya's mom, but I don't
Taya's
remember her
mom.
name.
Yeah, Taya's mom came out with them.
Who also looks very young.
Very young. She had to have been a teen mom, right?
That or she is aging like fine wine. One or the other.
Tell us your secrets, girl.
But she's very supportive, whereas
Alicia's
family is not.
Not so. Yeah, like her dad, it sounded like he doesn't acknowledge her other partners. He just refers to them as friends. So it's kind of dismissive and disrespectful as far as where she is with her relationship status. She doesn't feel that same level of support.
We know on Seeking Sister Wife, they love to talk about that endlessly. So I know this is a different show, but I have an inkling that we will see more of that. All in all, I enjoyed the episode. I do want to watch more. I don't know that I like these 4 people, though. Just like personality-wise, there wasn't enough in the first episode to make me like them. It was a little bit too much explaining everything and not enough getting to see who they really are.
Yeah, I need to see them and how they navigate. I need to see them in challenges, I guess, in the trader's way of thinking about this. I need to see them behaving and making decisions in real time so I can get to know them a little bit more. But I think our initial assessment of Tyler and Taya have that stronger bond. Alysia and Sean are just kind of hanging on by coattails for dear life here.
So that's the original prediction that we're going to go with for the rest of the season.
I think that's the initial response that I would give and the assessment based on a 40-minute episode that we've watched here so far.
Well, guys, let us know what you thought about Polyfamily. Are you ready to see the rest of it? What things were maybe red flags for you? What did you like about them? And if you're interested in hearing more recaps about polygamous families, we have another podcast called Surviving Sister Wives, where we are recapping every moment of the hit TLC show, Sister Wives. Thanks for listening. See you next time.